There's something kind of frustrating about um, these Eaglemoss shuttlecraft sets. I think the one exception that I've found so far of the ones that I've scanned through and I've decided, yeah, I want this too. No, I don't want that. The only exception I think was the one that was centered around the Kelvin timeline shuttles, which I've got all four of those little things sitting up there on those stupid display stands. Um, where all four shuttles within the pack came from, in that particular case, came from the Kelvin timeline movies. Um, but almost that I'm aware, that I can recall off the top of my head, all the other shuttlecraft sets that are released by Eaglemoss, they come from different locations. So like you might have like two from Next Generation and one from Deep Space Nine and one from Enterprise, or you might have like one from Voyager and one from the movies and one from this and then one for that, and they're all just kind of scattered all over the place. So it makes it kind of difficult to nail down. Yes, I want this kit because all four of the designs in there come from that particular subgenre of movies or television series or whatever. Makes it difficult to nail that down. So like, yes, I really want that one, or no, I really don't want that one. And I kind of wish that Eaglemoss would sell the shuttles individually. Like I can understand a 4 pack for $100. Like okay, that makes sense. Although to be fair, $100 for something that's barely 2 inches long, that I have a problem with. It sells for $25. I pulled it out a little. Or actually, no, I didn't pull out this one. This for $25 plus a dedicated magazine. Yeah, I can understand that. That's fine. That's acceptable. But the shuttles are like almost the same size as the nacelle, and those are selling for the same price as this entire thing plus the magazine, and their magazines are actually half the size. So there's a real price disproportion at work there that I'm not particularly fond of. So it's difficult. It's like, yeah, there are some designs I do want, but I also don't want to spend money on that particular design. It's kind of a back and forth thing that I have to worry about. So that's why it's taking me so long to get another set of shuttles. Not necessarily because of the cost, although that is a factor. I think they could sell the shuttles for. I think they could easily knock $10 off, sell them for 15 each. That's what I think they should do. I think they should sell them for 15 each. But currently, they're sending all of their shuttlecraft sets are selling for $100 each, and I'm like, that's a bit too much. You should be getting these for like 75 or $70. Knock 15, 20, $25 off of whatever it is. So with this in mind, I give you shuttlecraft set number 5, which comes from kind of all over the place. So you've got, let's see, this comes from Star Trek: The Motion Picture. This was first seen in Star Trek 3 or 4. It was definitely in Star Trek 4: The Voyage Home. This is from Star Trek 5, and then this comes from Voyager. So like, honestly, I would like to have had the travel pod that they used in the motion picture, or I would like to have had which they have released. But like I said, like I don't. It's not that I hate the design. It's just it kind of when you like these three come from the movies, and this comes from Voyager, the series. So it's like, there's a disconnect in here somewhere. So, but I mean, I'm not hugely opposed to this design. So like, yeah, okay, whatever, I'll get it. Why not? Because I know better, um, there are little mini magazines that are included with each one of these, but there are also LCAR displays that are included in the back, which is, by the way, is also known as an okutogram, which is it's the equivalent of a Jeffries tube. It's something that appears in Star Trek that's named after one of the production staff, one of the prominent production staff. So we got the travel pod. We've got the Star Trek 5 shuttle pod. Ooh, there's a bunch of magazine right there. Yeah, I don't mind the Voyager shuttle designs. It's not bad. The Shuttlecraft Type 8. And there it is. Oh, okay. Um, I don't know how this. Oh wow, okay. And there's the tram from TMP. I'd like to make an addendum. That thing that I just said about Shuttlecraft being only 2 or 3 inches long and costing $25 each, these three are actually an appropriate size. So that thing that I was just complaining about has just been null and voided because these are the appropriate size. These are all 3 inches minimum, which is what they should be. So what? You know what? Now I'm angry. Now I'm bloody angry because like I can understand, they're all the same size and they're all the same whatever, but I'm starting to smell bullshit, and now I'm thinking in the meta. I'm like, why would they? Because just flipping. Let's take this one for example. And I don't remember which one this. So this is from the Kelvin timeline. This is from all three movies, I think, and this is kind of my favorite of the five because it looked the most like TOS shuttle, which is what it was meant to do. So like this is good. This is fine. Now compare that with the shuttlecraft from Star Trek Five, which is now obviously there's a little bit of proportion distortion here, but you can see not only is it longer, but it's also way thicker. That's what she said. The nacelles are larger, and I'm not just talking about like, well, these are things that they did in this one that they didn't do on the other one. I'm talking about like the actual physical size of the replica, the two replicas next to each other. This is just blatantly larger compared to this. Almost it's like a half. Yeah, it's almost like a half inch longer, and there's a lot more mass to it. So like this is so tiny, and you heard me complain about it, and this is like, yeah, this I'm willing to pay $25 for. This, not so much. So now I'm starting to think to myself, I wonder if there's kind of a meta reason why these things. It's like maybe the licensing they didn't have a choice. Because I'll tell you right now, um, oh, I have to be very careful in placing these things because the display stands are so stupid. But I'll give you an example. This was one of my favorite designs of the four that are up there. It's easily the most recognizable. It's the most blocky of them. It's like whatever it appears in a lot of the movies. Now compare that to, let's see, what would be a good example? Well, it doesn't really matter. And this is the size of like a mini Hershey's bar or whatever it is. You can just done and whatever. Look at the size differences. Look at that. It's almost a full inch and a half longer. And yet, this costs exactly the same as this. And yet it's way smaller. And if I remember correctly, this has no die-cast metal in it, and I don't know if this has die-cast metal. There's a definite disconnect happening here. I don't know what it is, but it's frustrating. So that thing that I was just bitching about has just been nullified by what I've purchased here. I actually feel satisfied. Like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely going to be getting the bang for my buck here. Like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But that being said, I look at those and I'm like, something went wrong. I'm smelling bullshit somewhere in there. I wonder if it was like maybe it's the licensing fees or whatever it is, because all of these designs, to be fair, came out before Paramount Pictures and CBS Television split from each other in the late '90s, early 2000s, whenever that took place. So like maybe the licensing for the Kelvin timeline meant that like they had to shrink them down but keep them at the same cost because of the different licenses or something weird happening there. And these are all just fine. Like this is what I had been expecting. What was it, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, whenever it is when I got those. So that's surprising. All right, what should I do? Open these in chronological order? Yeah, why not? Do them in chronological. So that's last, and then this, and then this, and we'll start with the air tram from Star Trek Motion Picture. Let's see, is that where they start? That is where they started, and then 18 and 19. Yep, that's exactly how they do it. Cool, I'll do it that way. Okay. Oh god, I get to have fun tearing these things apart again. Oh, that's a very nice oculogram. I like that. That's just lazy. Maybe that's how they're able to keep the costs down, is by just doing that. I don't even. Just. Ooh, that fit in very nicely. Yay. That was actually something I had trouble with, was getting the attaching the two halves of the display stand, but that fits very nicely. I wonder if this is a refined version of the display stand. It just says air tram. Oh goodness, I'm running out of space on my desk. This looks like a phaser. So here's the air tram. It was seen only one time, if I remember correctly. It was seen in Star Trek The Motion Picture. This is the air tram that carried Captain Kirk to Starfleet headquarters. The first time we saw him in the movie, too. Which I don't think we ever saw it from the back, except like, way off in the distance or whatever it was in the background or something. Huge window on the top. Oh. Oh. There we go. Now we're talking. And then the repulsor lifts or whatever on the bottom are transparent blue. I know it looks kind of dark just because color correction and white balance, whatever, but these are actually transparent blue. So that's nice. They're supposed to be. And it has an Aztec pattern on it. Nice. Very nice. Oh gosh, that is tiny. I can't read that. It's the symbol for Starfleet, or it's the symbol for the Federation, but there's lettering underneath, but I totally can't read it because it's way too small. There are actual letters there, but they're just so tiny I can't see them unassisted. So if that's anything, I can't read that. I haven't really given the air tram much thought. Just kind of exists, whatever. But it's kind of like, I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, all these years later, it's kind of like, it's like they took the TOS shuttle and just hacked off the impulse engines. Well, they're warp engine. Nowadays we call them warp engine nacelles, but like back in the day, like they didn't know the difference, so they didn't care. There's a little paint smudge thing in the bottom left corner of the that window there. On screen for not even a minute. Except unless you want to count like stuff in the background or whatever. So, and I just realized that red stripe goes all the way around. Sorry, I should be holding it up here. Red stripe goes all the way around. I totally didn't notice that. And also, it doesn't seem to have any impulse engines or whatever it is. Like whatever these things are on the back, I don't know, because it's just black, like the windows and like whatever. But maybe the reason they did that is because maybe they kind of thought it's like a helicopter. You only need the engines on the bottom, and then you just kind of manipulate which direction it goes. Like it's like a hovercraft. It's like maybe they thought, well, we don't need engines on the bottom when we just manipulate how it hovers. You know, which that's actually not. If that's true, that's not bad. And then I'm only going to do it this one time just because consistency. But just be aware that all four of the shuttles are going to have this as well. There's a little locutogram that you can put on display directly behind it. Consists of a pair of, I don't know what you would call these. What kind of clips you'd call them? Hmm. That's not a very big. Oh, that's not very big at all. Nav beacon, cabin, WC. Oh, water closet maybe. Main cabin window. Or EPS power port. Fuel fill port. Main batteries, deuterium, storage. Passenger seat. So it carries 8 passengers altogether. Main cabin. Pilot seat, windscreen, flight controls, avionics bay. PRI, flight computer. PRI. I don't know. Avionics trunk. Flight deck. Why would you call it flight deck? Whatever. Repeller emitter and AG actuator. Probably like anti-gravity. And it's interesting, the color scheme that they're using. It's not. It's not your typical. It's certainly not like the ones with the Cal. Oh wait, that's right. It's Calvin timeline. So I guess these would be different colors. I don't know how well this is gonna appear. It's not. All right. I guess I'm just gonna have to crack this. Of course, because this has only appeared in one scene, you know exactly what the music is from it. So I've got that going through my head right now. So it's got a bunch of descriptions, a bunch of different colors on it too. And I'll bet this doesn't grip very well either. Actually, it does grip fairly well. You can see it with the clips attached. So what you do is you set this directly behind the shuttle that you have on display. So and there's four of these. So this is the only one I'm gonna try. I'm just showing you just to say, oh yeah, this they all have this. So yeah, and then I believe if I remember correctly, this picture will appear in the back of the mini magazine. So I'm not even gonna crack these open anymore. Okay, passenger vehicle length of 12 meters, active in the 23rd century, crew of one, standard. And there's the assembly instructions. How to attach the shuttle to a flat platform display stand. Just, I don't even. Just, why? Why would you waste the ink on that? A short distance public transport vehicle conveying passengers through Earth's lower atmosphere. Used by both Starfleet personnel and civilians, Starfleet air trams were a part of the transport network in the San Francisco Bay Area in the late 23rd century. So maybe this isn't like an actual dedicated Starfleet shuttle. Maybe it's like just maybe it's public transportation. I think that's what it is. Each tram would carry its passengers to a variety of destinations. It would land and take off from specially constructed air tram stations, which were positioned at key locations. Because you're not going to use transporters for every single. I mean, you can't imagine like a transporter in every household. Forget that noise. Each tram, distinguished by its own number, was divided into two main compartments. The smallest of the two internal spaces was the cockpit at the front of the vehicle where the pilot sat and navigated the vessel. The remaining much larger space was the passenger cabin, which was accessed by hatches on either side of the tram that were sealed by gull wing doors. Yes, and that's pretty much every single shot. Oh, they're including shots from the director's edition, director's cut of motion picture. Which, by the way, if you haven't seen that, get it if you can. I don't know how difficult it is because there's remastered or not remastered, but yeah, I guess it would be remastered Star Trek the Motion Picture, whatever it is. But like if you can see the director's cut, there's a lot of things in there that they changed. There's the establishing shots of San Francisco. They changed that. The approach of the shuttle. They open up like there used to be just kind of a giant wall. There used to be a giant wall right here. Maybe I can find a screenshot, just make things easier myself. Or I could just actually point to the actual picture that shows that. So originally there was just a big old wall in the original version, and no, and but then in the director's cut, where they actually they not just spliced in new footage that was originally recorded way back in the day, but they actually modified with computer animation and digital matte paintings. They added in an extra layer or an extra level of shuttles that were not there in the original 1979 cut. And the whole reason they did that is because Star Wars special editions were all the rage at the time, so like they were trying to do their own version of that. But what's kind of special about Star Trek the Motion Picture is that everybody knows, or at least you should know by now, that the movie was released in had a very very short filming schedule, and they threw a lot of money at it. And they were actually sending there were members of the crew, not the cast, but there were members of the crew who were being sent to the hospital for stress related injuries. And this is back in 1979. I'm not kidding about this. Like that film almost didn't make it. Like it was required to get that movie on screen by Christmas 1979. That was the whole point of it. But they had so little time to do it in just because of the way the film had manifested itself. There were so anyways, the reason I bring this is because there were so many special effects. There were so many effects that they had to cut for time. Just they didn't have. It wasn't a question of money or manpower. It was a question of time. They didn't have time to complete the special effects, and so when it went into the theater in 1979, there were a lot of things that were missing. So the director's cut, most of the scenes are the same. It's just they're slightly cut for time and slightly re-edited. It's just slightly. But then they also had, digital animation and paintings and whatnot where they could, oh boy, sorry, where they could add in things that were originally intended in 1979. But there's also a couple of shots where they added in new special effects as if they had been made in 1979, but obviously they didn't have time. And one of the things they did is they added in that extra level of the transit station or whatever it is. Originally, it was just a big blank wall right here. You didn't see anything at all. But then when they did the director's cut in, I think it was 2000 or 2001, one of the things they did is they got rid of that stupid matte painting wall, which, I mean, didn't look bad, but it was very boring, and they added in some new shuttles. And I think they added in another shuttle. Let's see where. Yeah, they added in another shuttlecraft or another air tram that's going in and out of there. So if you have a chance to watch that, absolutely, please do. Oh, that looks very nice. And again, this is literally the only time you see the air tram is in this one scene, and that's it. You never see it again in. You don't even see it in Star Trek 4, the Voyage Home, when we go back to Starfleet Command in San Francisco. You don't even see it there. Sited close to Starfleet Academy and the Federation Council building, Starfleet headquarters incorporated the Astrophysics Sentry, and the Starfleet Medical Complex. Officers were able to relax at the club known as the Quantum Cafe. I love it, the Quantum Cafe. Oh, in an alternate reality experienced by Ensign Harry Kim whilst assigned to USS Voyager in 2372, ran out of breath. Air trams were still being used for transportation in San Francisco. Okay. Oh, I know why. I know why. The reason why they did that is because they would have to have created brand new CG models for the director's cut, and they're like, why don't we get some more bang out of our bucks? So when they did that, when they featured Harry Kim, and I don't remember the name of the episode, it doesn't say here. They probably just, they had CG models. Hey, why don't we use them? So okay, so it turns out, yeah, they did use them elsewhere. Huh. Yep, that's it. That's all it talks about. So it's just that one other occasion. So this, which is weird because you would think that they would show a picture from Voyager, from the episode Voyager or episode in Voyager, but for whatever reason they don't. Hmm. Okay, whatever. Oh, I get it. Okay, all right. I understand this Okudagram now. It's in green, but there's also browns and green, or blue and yellow, and there's a bunch of different colors. I think they're trying to imitate, like, what would an Okudagram look like if it was made in 1979 for the motion picture. I think that's what they're trying to do here. So that's why it has kind of a strange, primarily green color to it. Let's see, get rid of that. But yeah, anyways, and that's exactly the same as that little printout thingy that I held up and said this is on the inside. It's exactly the same thing here. I didn't think that the tram would have the air tram would be kind of larger here, and then it'd get smaller towards the back. It didn't. That didn't occur to me. From the side, yes, I understood. Or from side profile, yeah, but from the top, it it it's bigger right here where I'm putting these two fingers, and then it gets smaller towards the back. That I did not know. It's wide enough for 8 people, and then all in here, and they're facing each other. So it's just a bus in the 23rd century. There you go. And next up, we'll be looking at the Starfleet Tug, which I wasn't aware that it was called that. I thought it was just another shuttle, but apparently it's a tug. Whatever. And it's either Star Trek 3 or Star Trek 4 when you first see these. I think it was Star Trek 3 because they would had to have had something for. Oh, they didn't paint the engines on the back. The exhaust, because these things are. Oh yeah, by the way, they didn't paint the engine exhaust. That's a disappointing. I was hoping they would. Darn. Because ordinarily, like you see them from the back, little orange circles, orangish, fiery orange red circles. That's how these are so well known. Aside from their like really strange profiles, there. Dang, I was hoping that would be painted. Phooey. Foo. But yeah, I just assumed that the what? Oh my God, are you kidding? Oh, I just learned something new. No way. It's been established before that Starship model makers, at least the official model makers, they have this unusual but not necessarily bad tendency to use to do kit bashing in order to create new starships, new spaceships, or whatever. I think I just found one, and I never knew about it until just now. I never knew about that until just now. That would be amazing if it is. It's like why waste your time designing a completely original shuttle when you can just do some kit bashing and save some money. Go to the local model shop, just buy up some modern day jet fighters or some boats or whatever it is, and then just go with that. Well, I just realized I think this Starfleet Tug has one, and I think it's in the back here. I think now not this replica, but the original filming model. I think the back half was taken from an F-14 Tomcat. Doesn't really matter which variation. The point is, yeah, I think the back half, the engine housings, whatever, I think they're taken from an F-14 Tomcat. And the reason I say that is because, let's see, does it matter which side? Yeah, it actually does. The top here, kind of a bow tie looking thing, that's the air brake that's positioned between the exhaust nozzles on the F-14. And then this thingy back here, if I remember correctly, it's a combination of things. It's a missile detection, or it's a radar detection sensor, whatever it is. So like if an enemy radar paints the or is looking at the Tomcat, is looking at the F-14, there's a sensor on the back that says, "Oh, you're being looked at. Somebody's looking at you." But then if you flip it over, and I'm fairly certain it's not here. Yeah, it actually. Ha. Okay. There's a little triangle. Let's see. Maybe it's a picture here. Maybe it's in the picture. Oh, this will be. No, it's not. Of course, that'd be too easy. There's a little triangle. Not the gray triangles, but in between. It's painted white. Let's see. I'm trying to get as close as I can. You can barely see it right there. And then there's no space back there. That triangle is the mounting point for the oh shoot, what's it called? The arresting hook. So when a jet fighter lands on an aircraft carrier, it drops down a hook. Ordinarily the hook is hanging up like this, but it drops down, and you can see it as the aircraft are coming. You see this little tiny metal bar that's hanging out underneath, and there's wires going across the back of an aircraft carrier. And so as the plane comes in, the tail hook will catch on one of those cables, and that's what slows down the aircraft when it lands on the deck. I think the back of this shuttle is based was kit bashed from an F-14 Tomcat. Wow. I cannot believe I found that. And then the two gray triangles, or I guess those would be, those are not triangles. Those are, I can't think of what they're called. Anyways, the two gray triangles. I definitely know that the air brake is definitely on the top, but I don't remember if there are also air brakes on the bottom. I don't remember. Wow. What a find. What a find. And I spotted that almost directly out of the box. How fantastic is that? And this is deliberately painted to be smudged up, so it's deliberate to look like it's got some wear and tear on it. So it looks like it's lived in, you know. I can't believe I found that. That just blows my mind. Now I'm paranoid. Now I'm looking like, is this whole thing kit bashed? How funny would that be? I'm gonna have to look this up later because like now that I've seen that I'm like, oh my god, they kit bashed this thing all the way back in like 80. I think it was 1986. It was when Voyage Home came home. So like, and these two air intakes on the underside here. I wonder if they like took the air intakes from like I'm not saying it is, but maybe they like took the air intakes from like an F4 Phantom. If you look at the front of them, and then just they turned them upside down like this, and then stuck them to the underside. I'm thinking that's what those air intakes are. They like took the air intakes from a jet fighter that used to be like this, and then just turned them down and stuck them on the underside. And then they obviously you wouldn't have the entire length of it, so they just cut it off suddenly, and that's whatever that is under there. That's fantastic. And then whatever they made for the cabin, I totally never realized that till just now. That's so awesome. You can see another example of it on the what was Picard's first command? The Stargazer, which is a constellation class. If you look in there, you'll not only you will find the not the super pack, but just the regular backpack of a VF1 Valkyrie is molded into the detailing in there. You have to go look for it. I'll try to find a picture for it. Hopefully, there's a picture over there. If there's not, I'm looking at absolutely nothing. But that's another example of their sneaking in little kit bash thingies. Hey, where's the door? There's no door. I just realized. There's no door on here. What the hell? Unless the door is like above. That's this little black square. Is that like the tiny black square? Is that like a window? I think maybe that's the door. So you have to step down into the shuttle. Maybe. I don't know. I've known this design for almost 30 years, and I never knew that was there. That my mind is officially blown at this point. And I think there's some die-cast metal at work here. The engine assembly, I think, is metal, but I think the rest is plastic. I've been hanging on to it for long enough that at this point it's like it's room temperature or it's body temperature now, so can't do the cold touch test anymore. I think the underside of the underside of the nose, I think that's die cast. The top is not die cast. That's just regular plastic. So that's fantastic. That's great. I love that. Huh, I finally have one of these. Finally, yeah. Listen to you. Yeah, yeah. I've wanted one my entire life. Sure, whatever. Those radiators are so specific. I wonder where they got that from. I wonder. I wonder. What a find. What a find right out of the box. I love that. That's great. That's oh, hello. Oh my god. This generic one size fits all display stand is going to be completely irrelevant because of how rounded the bottom of this is. There's nothing flat for it to sit on. In other words, let me turn this around. In other words, it's just going to slip to one side or the other. The only alternative I can think of is to turn it sideways like this. But then that becomes a problem because it's either front heavy or back heavy. Ah, that hurts my wrist. Oh, why? Wow, so you actually can't. You actually have to turn it sideways. And that'll give you some space to work with. Which you totally wouldn't have to worry about if you'd done a customized display stand each time. Just saying. I mean, you did it with every single other ship. I don't see why you shouldn't do it here. On top of which, because it's got die-cast in the back half, it's prone to just tip over backwards. Yeah. Maintenance shuttle, active in the 23rd century. Length is approximately 8 meters, and it's assigned to space dock. In service in the late 23rd century, the Starfleet. Yeah, those the stand assembly, that thing that's so hilariously stupid. Yeah, they even there just kind of stick it on there. Okay, so in service in the late 23rd century, the Starfleet Tug was a small, powerful, multi-purpose craft. All right. It was commonly seen operating in the vicinity of Starfleet headquarters in San Francisco, on Earth, and within space dock in Earth orbit. Yeah, these are atmospheric, but they can also work in space. Shaped roughly like a flat rectangle, roughly, very roughly. The tug was powered by two impulse thrusters at the lower rear of the ship. A large curved tinted viewing port covered the front of the vessel, allowing the pilot a wide view whilst maneuvering the ship. Each tug was distinguished by a large number displayed at the top of the ship. At the top of the ship, which is it's a 5, but it looks like a 2 on my screen. On the top of the ship, as well as a smaller number on each side. The majority of the interior of the tug was occupied by a powerful graviton tractor, which was linked to the tractor emitter at the rear of. I need to turn the page. At the rear of the ship, placed between the impulse thrusters. That radar sensor from the F-14 Tomcat, they changed it into a tractor beam emitter. This allowed the tug to tow ships or objects much larger than itself. The remaining space at the front of the tug provided a seat for a pilot and one other member of crew. Where do you get that idea from? Because the whole command crew from the Enterprise A was seen in there. Oh, no, it's not. No, they're not. My mistake. They were using the travel pod. Oh, okay. I totally blanked on that. I'm sorry. Okay, so it is a cargo tug. I didn't even think of that. My mistake. Okay, so they're only showing instances where it's in Star Trek 4. Every shot here is from Star Trek 4. I could have sworn it was in Star Trek 3, maybe. It's a recap. That's a very short recap of Star Trek 4. Huh, okay, so I was wrong about that. Hmm. And then this would be a Star Trek 4 LCAR, whatever it is. Tractor emitter. WZ impulse thruster coils. WZ? I don't know what that is. Impulse thrust nozzle, impulse exhaust vents. Wait, this is the same thing. What? Secondary generator, plasma transfer conduit, PTC turbo pump. PTC, I've heard that for. Plasma transfer conduit. Plasma transfer conduit, turbo pump, first phase accelerators, plasma injectors, avionics bay, coolant intake compressor, primary field coils, plasma conditioning first stage, 12 megawatt graviton tractor unit. But they don't actually point to the actual emitter. 220 millicochran field amplifier. What is that supposed to be? I don't know. Oh, that's the little. No, that's not that. Okay. Molybdenum waveguide injector. Molybdenum. Where? Molybdenum. That's got to be an inside joke of some kind. I can't remember. And flight control interface, which is not pointing to the flight control interface. Hmm. So here's the L car for the Starfleet Tug. I didn't know that this was a tug. I thought it was I thought it was just a multi-purpose shuttle or whatever it is, but no, it's a tug. Which begs the question, how big an object can you attach a tractor beam to, or how big of a an object can you mount a tractor beam within? And it turns out there it is. There's your answer right there. It's not just that starships move themselves, but you actually need little cargo tugs or little maneuvering tugs to push and pull them around. So, huh? I'm going to take a moment here to save this file properly and look to see what the trivia says about the Starfleet tugs because I want to see if that I'm convinced at this point if that's not kit bashed from an F-14 Tomcat I don't know what is, and I'm also interested to find out what those radiators are on the back of it. So I'll be right back and let you know about that.
12 seconds later.
Okay, so I found it on X Astris Scientia. It just says space dock shuttle. Uh, it seems the space dock shuttle is equipped with impulse drive only. Whatever. Shuttles of this type can also be seen in Earth's atmosphere in Star Trek 4. The size of 8 meters is based on the human figures inside the studio model, but it doesn't show. The publication 30. I don't know that word. Star Trek calls the shuttle number 5 Magellan. Magellan or Magellan? I think it's Magellan. Sorry. I don't know where this information comes from. The studio model itself does not seem to have a name painted on the hull. It wouldn't if it was a cargo tug, so whatever. A space dock shuttle in an unusual yellow color can be seen in the Next Generation 11001001, where the Enterprise D is leaving the space dock. This shuttle is stock footage from Star Trek 3 that was accordingly colored for the Next Generation episode. Really? Oh yeah, there it is. Boy, that's a blink and you miss it moment. Okay, so the trivia doesn't say anything about the design of the shuttle, or at least not on Exas or Scientia, which I would expect. I would expect that to be there, but for whatever reason, it's not. I'm gonna dig a little more, see if maybe there's a site that talks about it, because I want an answer to that before I finish this video. Memory Alpha, I summon thee. Appearances, 3 films. Let's see. Yeah, so it was in Star Trek. Okay, so it was in Star Trek 3 the first time. I thought so. That pamphlet leads you to believe it's only in Star Trek 4. Like, no. It was in 3, it was in 4, and it was in 5. And was it in 6? No, it was not in 6. Because you see a shuttle in Star Trek 6, but it's not this one. It was in 2 episodes of Next Generation and 2 episodes of Voyager. But I want to know about that studio model. The orbital shuttle. It's called the orbital shuttle. Orbital shuttle in Memory Alpha. The orbital shuttle was purely an ILM initiative to beef out the atmosphere inside Earth's space dock, as the craft had never been mentioned nor described in any of the scripts of the productions it had made an appearance in, nor was it ever, aside from its visual appearances, referred to on screen. Yeah. It was Mike Okuda, apparently unaware of the model maker Bill George's intent, who had come up with the designation orbital shuttle for the inclusion in the Star Trek Encyclopedia, faithfully copied into the Star Trek fact files. Physical studio model. For the refined, with at least 2 study models, however, he specifically stated it's a tug and built the eventual filming model as such. He intended the array of quarter circle ribs at the back of the ship between the engines to be tractor beam emitters. Oh, okay. So that's what those are. The idea behind the concept was that these craft would act as tugboats in space dock, which is why they were moving around the USS Enterprise, ready to guide her if necessary, very much like present-day harbor tugboats. Yep, yeah, that's fine. To further reinforce the notion of the craft being a heavy-duty utility vessel, he clad the pilot miniature figures seated in the cockpit in environment suits. Oh, that's a neat picture. I'm definitely going to insert that into the video. Oh my gosh! The shuttle's maybe a foot and a half long. So the actual film manual is probably no bigger than that. Hmm. But I want to know. Please tell me. Let's see, I want to know what the if it was kit bashed. There were a couple of times where it was a matte painting, so whatever. The model was filmed twice at ILM, labeled number 7 for the search for Spock, and relabeled number 5 for the voyage home. Every other subsequent appearance had been stock footage of these two filming sessions. The model has not been seen since, darn, and its current whereabouts are unknown, though George has retained ownership of the two study models. Darn. Oh, well, yeah, I mean that's just the way Hollywood operates, unfortunately. No, 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 no. No, I'm not going to turn off my ad blocker. Fuck you. I've never seen this picture before. It's just like I've never taken the time to look it up. So I want verification of the parts. I need this in my life. I want to know parts it was made out of. I need this. God! Wow, I've never seen that picture before. The interior of the. Click this image to show the full size version. I've never seen that picture of the interior space dock. Wow. I'm going to save this before I lose it. That's neat. Wow. I'm completely distracted, but still, that's really neat to see that. Can't even really call them bigatures either. They're not. They're not bigatures. But still, it's neat just to see how big they are. This design I've known my entire life. Because Search for Spock came out in '83. That was less. It was less than a year after I was born. God, this is great to be able to find these pictures. Wow. Yeah, I already have it. Thank you. There it is. There's a zoom. It has to be. Well, okay. It might not be the F-14, but it might be. What's the? Because the Soviet Union built a supersonic interceptor to match up against the F-5 Eagle. F-5? Yeah. F-15. I'm sorry, F-15 Eagle. Now I'm curious if maybe instead it's a model kit from the equivalent Russian. I can't think of what it was. It wasn't a Foxbat. I can't think of what it was called. Oh gosh, I'm gonna save all these photos just because I'm that person. Here it is. Here it is. Retractable landing gear remains a strong possibility. I'm reading this off of trekbbs.com. I'm going to bookmark this so I can. Anyways, retractable landing gear. And no, I'm not saying that because I can tell the engines are pieced together from F-14 and F-16 model kits. Big smile, especially considering the old Type 5 Shuttlecraft. Yeah, okay, so they're left over from the F-14 and the F-16. Fucking called it. Yeah, 30, 38 years later, 37 years later. And now they're just talking about detailing. When was this? These were no. When was this post? When were these posted? June 4th, 2012. So yeah, the F-14 and the F-16. Let me think about the F-16. Oh yeah, because the F-16 has a single engine, and the intake is underneath the nose. It is. It's the air intake from the F-16. How about that? So they took the air. Oh, I can't see what I'm pointing at. They took the air intake from an F-16 and then they attached it to the back half of an F-14 Tomcat. How about that? And the rest of it, like I don't know what the rest of the I have no idea what the rest of that the design would be, but wow, how cool is that? That's great. So I was right. I was absolutely right. That's the back end of an F-14 Tomcat. I absolutely called it. What I didn't know is what these little air intake thingies were. I didn't know what those were, but those are apparently the air intakes from an F-16 Falcon. Ha! That's awesome. I love it. I love it. Don't you dare fall over. It's gonna fall over first chance it gets. That's awesome. That's great. Gotta love those old school model makers, Hollywood model makers, just coming up with the craziest shit. That's awesome. Oh, that made my day. I'm happy now. That's incredible. That is something you can't do with CG models. Well, I just did. Of course, I just like a half hour, 45 minutes ago, I was talking about the Akira class, which I just unboxed, and they have those those kind of engine parts, whatever it is, right there, which were then highlighted on the Akira Prize, the NX-01 Enterprise, that are taken from the was it the P38 Lightning, So like as soon as I said it, I was like, yeah, you sure you want to care to revise your statement, sir? But CG models, you're not going to notice that. You're not going to do that very often. So there are exceptions, of course. So that tickles me. I like that. That's great. Did I show the? Well, if I did, here it is. If I didn't, here it isn't. So there's that. That's cool. Now for Shuttlecraft Galileo from Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, which is considered by many to be the worst Star Trek movie ever made. I strongly disagree. I suppose I might as well talk about it here because, like, when else am I going to talk about it? Star Trek Five. No, it's not a great movie. No, it's not. But it's nowhere near as bad as some of the others they made later on. I'm just saying. Star Trek Generations, for example, that was a right mess. Of course, it took me a long time to realize that. But like, yeah, Generations is not as good as people like to think it is. Who thinks that who thinks that Generations is a good movie? I'd be hard pressed to think of anybody who thinks that movie is good. Like when I saw it when I was a teenager, it's like, oh, Star Trek. I actually saw Star Trek. I saw Generations in the theater, at the local theater. So like, yeah, okay, that was neat. But like, you watch it enough times and you realize it's not that good a movie. But anyways, yeah, Star Trek Five, not the hugely successful movie. Like it's not even. Ooh, there's a problem here. The way this is pinned down, I might break the nacelles. Eaglemoss, I think you could have packaged this a little slightly differently. I'll find out in a moment here. Ooh. Like I can understand screen accuracy, but that being said, and here's the updated Galileo from Star Trek Five. And the vents in the back are painted. Darn, I was hoping that they'd be transparent, but no, they're darn. Here's the Galileo from Star Trek Five. Oh, does that have? Oh, I guess it would. Yeah. Which I actually like the shell design. This is one of the main reasons why I got. Maybe it's just because I grew up with it. Whatever. Because like I wasn't even. When did Star Trek Five come out? 1990 or 91, something like that. So like this has been with me since I was 10 or 12 years old. So like, but I also think it's a good conversion from television series to movie, which is what this is. It's meant to be. There's a lot of these. It's like an updated version, long and slender. Has just the one window on the front. There's no windows on the side. You know, it's the exact same. It's the exact same thing that TOS shuttlecraft had. Long, narrow um, warp engines, and then which they kind of are, kind of not, whatever. And that's got a little wing, kind of little winglet on the side. It's got really small mount. I guess those would be are those pylons? Yeah, those would be pylons, warp engine pylons right there. It's really, really narrow, really thin, just like on the original. Although actually they're a lot thinner on this version. So, and then they have a door on the side, but they've added a door for this version. The whole back half of the window is the whole back half just folds down, blam, and you can walk out. So, yes, it has doors on the side, but the primary in and out is from there. So, this one kind of started the trend. Oh, well, no. Next Generation had a shuttle that was very, very similar to this. Might even have been a kit bash from this. But anyways, yeah, I like this one. I'm kind of surprised the nacelles here are. There's a little overspray on the grill right there. Whatever. Oh, the top of the shuttle is is metal, and then the rest is ABS. Let's see. It was the door. The door is hard to tell. Oh, the door. No, the door is also die-cast metal. So, but anyways, yeah, I think Next Generation they took this and they just added. There are like there is a dedicated Next Generation shuttle that looks very similar to this, but there's I think they also did a kit bash where they just swapped out the nacelles and added in Next Generation era warp nacelles. So I could be wrong though. I thought there was a window underneath, and then the bottom, the anti-gravs that you can see going when they land the shuttle on Shakari. You can see those are alternating back and forth. That poor movie had so many things going against it. It's kind of tragic. Wow, this is only made out of like 3 pieces. That's it. You know, they should have Eaglemoss should have attached the door separately so they could paint that a little cleaner. You could tell that they struggled. They struggled to get even just the base coat on there because you can. It's like the if you look at the inner upper edge, the you can see that the hull paint was not sprayed on quite evenly. So it's like you can almost see the metal itself because the paint apps were not done properly. Which, whatever. I kind of wish they'd reused this a couple more times in the other movies, but unfortunately, the next movie was Star Trek Six, and they had no reason for shuttles, so this just kind of disappeared after Star Trek Five. They only used it the one time. Oh, really? Unless my eyes are playing tricks on me, which is entirely possible. I'm wondering if, like the air tram that surprised me at the very first shuttle that I showed off here, I'm wondering if the nose is slightly bulbous. It goes wide, and then over the length of the rest of it, it gets smaller and smaller towards the back. That might be just me. I'm not certain. And they also have those little winglets on the side, or wherever those are. They have those that are kind of throwing out the. Okay, get that hair out of there. Yet another artist's signature, a hair that's been spray painted into position. Although that may be me, I'm not entirely certain. Get off there. Okay, that's just me. No, actually, I think that hair has been spray painted on, so it's always going to have a hair from the blue collar worker who spray painted this. Oh well, it's going to happen. Unavoidable. Yeah, I like this. I like this design. It was a little bit of overspray on the right nacelle. The kind of very dark gray line that's painted here, the guy accidentally continued it, the artist or the manufacturer, the worker, whoever painted this, they accidentally spray painted too far. They went past the grill because you could see on this side here, you could see the line stops and then there's that little round thingy right there. But then on this side, they accidentally oversprayed. It's just a quality control thing, whatever. Eh, cool beans. Cool beans. Does it actually fit on the display stand? Yes, it does. It fits quite nicely. Actually, maybe if I turn it sideways, I can actually lock. Nope, can't do that. All right, whatever. It's a nice shuttle design. I like that one. Very appropriate upgrade for the TOS shuttlecraft design. Very appropriate because they hadn't. Let's see. Yeah, because they've been just using little travel pods that were left over from the motion picture up to that point. They hadn't really had a dedicated shuttlecraft at that point, at least none you'd see on the Enterprise. So yeah, that's what they came up with. Hmm. And then the little booklet. That's a nice little front view. I like that. That's nice. Designated as number 5 amongst the USS Enterprise NCC 1701A's complement of ancillary vehicles, the Galileo was the latest of several shuttlecraft to bear this name. At least 3 previous shuttlecraft called Galileo, named after Italian astronomer Galileo Galilei, had served with the original USS Enterprise. Editing mistakes, yo. The Galileo was comparatively large for a shuttlecraft, providing seating for 2 crew at the front of the vessel, leaving a large amount of space for other passengers or cargo. Kind of the same thing at the end of the day. The shuttle had 3 entrances, 2 small doorways on either side towards the front of the ship, and a large hatch at the rear. There was just one large viewing point at the front of the ship that curved down from the roof, giving the pilot a wide view, which is bullshit because it didn't. Yep. And nothing but pictures from Star Trek Five, including the heads up display on the from the Klingon Bird of Prey, right there. By the way, the reason why you don't put a bunch of windows on it is so that A, you don't have to design your model to be detailed enough on the interior so that the audience can see in, and two, when you're designing your set, you don't have to compensate for kind of the reverse is true. So like, if you could just you can if you can imagine the shuttlecraft as like a giant egg, you could just separate it right down the middle, right where the doors are. By the way, you could do it that way. It might be confining for the actors and for the crew to get in and around, but the advantage is that when the camera is inside, you don't have to show the exterior outside of the shuttlecraft through the extra windows or whatever it is. So this is a like a production choice where it's like, okay, we could be practical and have the pilot have a really good view to either side, which is what you want to have. But on the other hand, if you're on a limited budget and you don't want to show what's happening outside of the shuttle, then you just limit it to a window on the front and a door in the back or a door on either side. If you'll notice, and they do exactly the same thing with the Galileo, the original Galileo in the original series. There's just that set of 3 windows in the front, which conveniently have a sliding section on it, so you can cover those windows. You can cover up the windshields so that you don't have to show those things off. So this is a very practical design, but at the same like practically in terms of like the shuttle pilot being able to look left or right, up or down, no, it's not. In fact, you should have a window down, between their legs, like a helicopter, something like that. But like in terms of practicality, it's just a very narrow window. You can only see out the front, and you would actually have to lean forward, and even then, you're not going to be able to see it. It's like, you have to lean over the controls to see what's going on. That's what's at stake here. So like, it's practicality for the sake of filming. You don't have to show extra stuff happening. Like if you place your camera inside, if your camera looks left or your camera looks right, you're not going to see it. You don't have to show that. All you're going to see is the interior of the set. So there's a lot of practicality that goes into that. So like, or practicality for the sake of filming. You're saving a lot of money by not showing what's happening outside. But on the other hand, if you know, oh, I was right. Those are. It did have a spotlight. That's right, because when the shuttlecraft landed in Yosemite National Park, what was McCoy's response? Get the damn light out of my eye, or out of my face. So the headlight on the underside there, even though it's present, they don't show it. They didn't paint it. They didn't indicate it in any way. I thought something was missing. I was wondering about that. So I guess the light can turn on and off. I guess because there's a shot here from as the shuttle is whizzing by just above the surface on Nimbus 3. You can see right there. There's the headlight. Let's see. There's the headlight right there. You can barely see it. It's kind of orange color, whatever it is, just below my finger. But yeah, it actually does have a headlight. But for whatever reason, there they did not. I don't know all the problems they had with Star Trek V, but oh man, there were a lot of problems in Star Trek V. That's one of the reasons why the film wasn't so good. It looked rushed. So I want to say that all these L cars are. I call them L cars because that's what they call them. In that's officially what they're called in Next Generation. But technically, this is an Okudagram. I want to say, if I remember correctly, Eaglemoss contracted Michael and Denise Okuda, for whom Okudagrams are named. They contracted them to make these original drawings or whatever it is. So like before Eaglemoss, this drawing did not exist. So like even on screen, like there are some cases where they appear on screen and then they include it, but I think for the shuttles specifically, especially this one, no, you didn't see this. I think this is an Okudagram. Well, I mean it is, but yeah, it doesn't say. All right. So it is Shuttlecraft Galileo from Star Trek V. One more to go. God, these are so satisfying. I mentioned it earlier. These are so satisfying to look at. Um, just these kits or these replicas, just because they're properly scaled. I actually feel like I'm getting my money's worth here, as opposed to those Kelvin shuttles where they're so tiny. I feel like I'm getting. Wow, that's really nice. This has got to be a Sternbach design. Oh, nice. Anyways, yeah, this is the Type 8 shuttlecraft from Star Trek Voyager. So this is what you saw before they created the Delta Flyer. This is one of those designs where B'Elanna Torres, she made the complaint, like, if I have to I don't remember the exact, I'm paraphrasing. She's like, if I have to design or if I have to rebuild another shuttlecraft from scratch, I'm going to go space crazy or something like that. She was basically complaining that these were completely inadequate to dealing with the rigors of. Wow, okay, so this is the only one of the four shuttlecraft in this set that has actual transparent plastic in it. The warp field grills are or the warp emitter grills are transparent. They're actually, you can actually see through them. So, anyways, yes, they use this in Voyager, and you can even see it on the side there. It says USS Voyager. So I don't know why. Like those, like the three shuttles have opened up to this point. They were all in the TNG era movies, and all of a sudden they just throw in Voyager because of reasons and things and stuff. Which is weird because you would think that they would include this in the shuttlecraft set. I don't know which one, but the shuttlecraft set that has the Delta Flyer in it, which I do want to get the Delta Flyer kit or the Delta Flyer because like it looks neat, and you would think that this would be included with it, but it's not. So, anyways, yeah. And this does not have doors on that side. It's just the single door in the back, and that's it. Which again speaks about the practicality of space shuttle designs, space shuttle, yeah, shuttlecraft designs. With the Galileo, they saved money by not having any other windows on it. But the disadvantage is because of what the script was telling them to do, they had small doors on the sides of the shuttle in addition to the larger door in the back. Well, it's like they kind of learned their lesson here. This is a smaller shuttle. It's a cute shuttle, by the way. I like this design. Um, they swap things around then. So you've got more windows. You've got windows on the side, which I just spent how long explaining. But then you only have the single door at the back. You see the single door right there located on the back. But they don't have any doors on the side. Most of the TNG era, which includes Voyager, TNG era shuttles were designed pretty much the same way, unless you want to talk the really really small kind of octagon profile shaped ones where they had a door on either side, but they didn't have a door on the back. Which, by the way, the Eaglemoss has made one of those as well. So, I wonder if this has phasers on it. I don't think it does. Ooh, they struggled to do that. On the front, if in a forward profile, there's these vents that appear right here, just in front of my fingernail. There's these vents right here, but it's a crosshatch design. There's a grill there, and behind the grill is the red, whatever it is that you can see there. And so, goodness me, Eaglemoss really had to struggle to get that on there. Can't say I blame them, just the location of it. It's like, ooh, you have to get a pattern in there, but you have to get it into a really small area. So I'm not going to yell too loudly at Eaglemoss for screwing that up. On the starboard side, it looks fine, but on the port side, yeah, it looks like it slipped off a little bit. I'm not gonna be angry at them for that. Like, yeah, they just struggled. Kind of a fat little egg of a shuttle, but it's much more curvy than the original TNG era shuttles. This has got some decent interior space, is my point. I'm not opposed to the design of the shuttle. It's a cute little whatever. I just wish it had been, another movie shuttle, like maybe the travel pod from the motion picture. That's what it should have been in here. Because then you would have had, all the TOS era movie shuttlecraft, done. Maybe one or two exceptions that I can't think of off the top of my head, but no, they just random ass Voyager shuttle for reasons and things and stuff. I don't know. I'll say it now while I'm thinking about it. I didn't think very much of Star Trek Voyager. It was the first. Well, no, actually, it was the second Star Trek series I walked away from because, like, at the time, I wasn't really engaged with Deep Space Nine. But there was another reason why I didn't watch Deep Space Nine at the time, and I don't remember why. Something about maybe like the times of the week when it was on or something like that. I don't remember, but like I didn't watch a lot of Deep Space Nine at the time. Nowadays, I like Deep Space Nine, but at the time, I don't remember why it is I didn't watch it. And then Voyager was kind of the same thing. I just kind of, okay, it's boring. I don't care. It exists and whatever. And speaking of existing, another another shuttle pod that actually there's some greeblies on the bottom of the shuttle. There's these three lines here, and then there's this thing here, which actually makes it really really difficult to put this bland generic one size fits all shuttle. There's ooh, there's barely any friction involved here. So hmm. Oh, there's some very tiny lettering right there. I can just barely not read it. So very difficult to read that. Very difficult. I actually feel like I'll say it again. I feel like I got my money's worth here. I really do. For these four shuttles, they're actually the size I want. Those four Kelvin timeline shuttles. It's not that the designs are bad. They're just the physical size of the replicas are real small. That's what I'm protesting. Wow, it's a big shuttle. 7 meters long. 12 meters. 8 meters. And 9 meters. So this is actually, yeah, it's kind of middle sized shuttle, whatever. The Starfleet Type 8 shuttlecraft was introduced into service in 2371 at the same time as the Intrepid class starship. Part of the Intrepid class's complement of shuttlecraft, the design of the Type 8 shuttle was a refinement of the older Type 6 shuttlecraft with only subtle differences in physical appearance. Yeah, well, stand assembly. Eaglemoss, just stop. Come on. The Type 8 shuttle was composed of duranium, magnesite, and carbon. Typically operated by a two-person crew. Seated at the front of the ship, there was space at the rear interior for additional personnel or cargo. It could be armed with dual phasers and also included a transporter unit. Whatever. Access to the shuttle was gained by a large hatch at the rear of the vessel. And it was used many, 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 many times. Oh. So the phasers come out the. Oh, so it was both a physical model and a digital model. Hmm. The phasers are located, are these little kind of metallic blue thingies right there. That's what the phaser emitters are. Although they don't really look like it. That's kind of that thing where like we need the shuttle to have phasers, but we didn't design the shuttle to have phasers. So where are we going to put them? Oh, we'll just put them on either side of the cockpit and we'll call it good. That's pretty much what they're doing. And the Type 6 shuttlecraft they're talking about is obviously um, is obviously from Next Generation. So the Tereshikova which was designated as shuttlecraft number one, which this is not, uh, was named was named after the Soviet cosmonaut Valentina Tereshikova. I hope I'm saying that name right. Who became the first woman in space in June 16th, 1963. And there's a bunch of instances where they list just different times the shuttle was used. 7 of 9 being a Baus. Temporarily reverting to her Borg programming, 7 of 9 stole a Type 8 shuttlecraft from Voyager. Despite the shuttlecraft bay doors being sealed to prevent 7 leaving, she was able to enhance the shuttle's shields, allowing it to smash through the bay doors and escape without damage. So just a bunch of instances from the series, and then finally an actual LCAR. Oh, I've been forgetting to look for whatchamacallits. I've been forgetting to look for Easter eggs in here. No mention of a warp core, because you know if you have warp engines, you need a warp engine core, but they don't have a mention one. Yeah, there's no mention of a like there's a plasma transfer subsystem, primary field coils, primary field generators, mission ops interface panels, but they don't talk about a warp core. Anyways, I think that might be an actual LCAR or Okudagram. I need to stop saying LCARs. This might be an actual Okudagram left over from Voyager. You know, just copy pasted, you know, from back in the day. So, and that's it. 4 shuttlecraft of decent size, thus decent price. I am not disappointed with my purchase, although I'll say it one more time, except for the fact that they included a Voyager shuttle Random Ash Voyager shuttlecraft when they should have had a 4th movie shuttle pod, whatever it is. So I'm not even going to complain about the passenger shuttle that they had very, very briefly at the end of, near the beginning of Star Trek 6, which was then reused and repurposed at the end of Star Trek Generations. They have made both of those. They have made that shuttle available on a different kit, but or a different set, but I'm not going to get it. So, yeah, much better reception than I did with the Kelvin timeline shuttles. Which I like the Kelvin timeline shuttles, just they were too small. They were way too small. Bang for the buck. Especially that one shuttle. I was really disappointed with how small that one was. Whew, I need to go eat. Of course, it's 5:11 p.m. So that turned out well. That turned out really nicely. I like how that turned out. So, all right, good deal. Good deal. And so with that, this is AV Unit 4A saying thank you for tuning in.